Hi, my name is Greg Canty, and I'd like to welcome you to the Win Happy podcast. I love chatting to people from all walks of life about their lives and their careers, about the choices they make along the way to pursue their happiness, and what winning actually means to them. I hope you enjoy these conversations as much as I do. Thanks for listening. On part 2 of a 2-part podcast, I chat with Sally Smart of Smart Productions. 28 years ago, she visited a friend in West Cork with her 3 daughters in their camper van, which they were all living in. For the sake of the children, Sally decided to make roots, and after many years, she found herself able to explore her own passion for theatre and production. Sally has now created a safe place called the Loft in Skull, where with her help, kids can explore themselves on stage in a way that she was never able to do. Ayoola, her own daughter, who is now a successful actor, was one of the very first to benefit from Sally's teaching, her spirit and her encouragement. Let's hear from Sally. Am I right in saying you're in West Cork 28 years?
28, yeah.
How the hell did that come about?
Do you know what? I came to visit a friend for the weekend and I kind of never really left. I mean, it started off with the camper van. Okay, so I had another child, my beautiful daughter Ayoola. And then I was working, doing the clothes label. I was working, I was sewing till 2 in the morning, I didn't have any staff, didn't have any help. And then I was going and setting up the whole big marquees at festivals to sell all of the stuff, and was completely mad. Anyway, I decided the only way I was going to actually enjoy this baby's childhood was to take them all travelling. So I built a camper van at that point, which I vowed I'd never live in a van because they're not on the earth, but anyway. And I made this van.
Never say never.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's one of my mottos, actually. Never say never. Because you can guarantee it'll happen next week.
Yeah.
So I built this camper van, which was glorious. It had all the favourite bits of our lives in it. It was like a little palace. They had bunks, and Ayoola was in with me. And I took all the school curriculum in boxes under the beds, so they did all school. So we travelled for, I think it was 2 years around Europe. So we'd do a project on the Roman Empire, and then we go to Rome and see it all, and we did loads of art projects, and then they'd go and look at the actual
pieces of art. And you and the 3 girls? Me and the 3 girls, and my sister built a van and came, so it was my sister in her van with her daughter, and me in my van with my 3 daughters. What dictated next location?
Literally, we just look at the map and make a plan for the day, let's go here, let's go there. And it was driven definitely for me by what I'd liked them to see, in the way of art. We went to all the Greek temples, they were perched on little cliff tops, and so they learned all the Greek mythology and about the goddesses and all of that. And we went to Rome and did all of, so it was literally it was school-led in a way, but it was like a massive adventure too. We sat around fires and so I got to, Ayoola to kind of have her babyhood with her. I wasn't sewing clothes all day long and all night.
Yeah, and did you still have the clothes?
Yeah, I would sell bits on the way, so every now and then I just opened the van and put things up, if we were somewhere a bit touristy or a bit on a beach side or, but the only thing we really need money for was the fuel in the vehicles, I mean, actually one point, halfway up Mount Vesuvius, my van engine blew up. That was a bad day.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Literally. It's oh no.
Oh shit.
So then
Did you curse that day, did you?
Yeah, probably, gosh, yeah. Because that was, you were a bit at the mercy of whoever then to rescue you and fix it all, and it cost a fortune. I had to borrow money off my mum, I think. I can't remember where I got the money to fix it.
That daughter of mine. Where are you? Up a mountain, the van is broken. Oh my God, how much do you need?
Yeah, well, no, because she didn't really have that much money. Yeah. It wasn't like I could get thousands off it. But anyway, we managed it and we fixed it, and then off we go again. But for the time that was getting mended, we just make camp. We decided we'd camp by this lake because we took this big Canadian canoe with us everywhere. So we went down all these mad rivers and across lakes with our small children. We nearly died in the gorge to Tarn. That was terrifying. It's like a grade 7.5 paddle river, which of course we had no idea about. Oh, this looks like a lovely river. Let's go down here. The next minute we were crashing over rapids and waterfalls.
And you still have all 3 children?
I still have all 3 children.
Okay, I mean, I'm just checking.
Yeah. No, amazingly enough. Because, I do feel a bit ill sometimes when I think of some of those situations they were.
Health and safety.
Yes, exactly. No health and safety. Anyway, so that was amazing. That was amazing for them, for the elder 2. Ayoola sadly doesn't remember a lot of it, but for them, they really remember that. It had a huge impact on their upbringing and their education, and and I think it gives kids motivation of their own, and they can see what they're capable of. Why wait till you're an adult before you?
They certainly know it's a big, big world out there with endless possibilities. So come on, West Cork. Was that one of one of the road trips? Was it?
Yeah. So we came over in the van for a weekend to visit a friend, and then my eldest daughter said she wanted to go to school, which was a bit of a blow.
How old would she have been?
She was, I want to say 14.
Yeah, so secondary school and stuff.
Yeah, she wanted to, but I thought, if I'm going to have to stay put for a large chunk of time, then I've got to do it somewhere rural and peaceful and with old-fashioned values and, actual genuine people. And because where I was living at that point, it was, in Devon, and it was just bedlam. It's like busy, hectic, crazy, like Totnes, it was like a flipping, the roads were just solid traffic every morning. You're just like, my God, why are we doing this? So we came here and we thought, okay, well, let's give this a try then. And so then before I had a chance to really think about it, they had gone into secondary school in Dunmanway, which in hindsight wasn't a great choice for them at all, because it's very Irish. It was very rural farmer kids, and they were stuck out like sore thumbs and got bullied a lot. And that was a bad choice. I have made some big bad choices.
That was one of them.
It wasn't all good choices.
Yeah.
That was one of them. I suppose if anyone had said go to Schull at that point instead, I would have, because I grew up by the sea and the sea's vital to my life. And I should have just got braver, but I kind of settled near where my friend was because she already had a community, and, so it was easier, I suppose, to reallocate your whole life and your 3 kids and yourself.
You can talk about West Cork, but there's a big difference between Dunmanway and Schull.
Exactly,
I would be suggesting,
Yeah.
I presume for your girls at that stage, going into any school was going to be a colossal change.
Yeah.
So maybe they had to start and begin and go somewhere.
Yeah, it was a massive adjustment. It was quite hard because they had to regress. They knew a lot more than what they were supposed to know at that stage at school, So I remember Midney coming home and going, God, Mum, we did multiplication this morning, It's like, which we'd left behind long ago. Because if you teach your own children, an hour of concentrated work is all you get in school in a whole day. A lot of it is crowd control and
babysitting,
chaos and babysitting.
Service.
So if you look at what they have to know as the curriculum, you can teach it in 2 hours in the morning, and then they have the rest of their childhood to get on with it.
Yeah.
So that was what I was doing really. So anyway, they wanted to go to school, so they both ended up in Dunmanway School, and then all of a sudden I realised I was grounded, and that was like, oh, okay, I haven't really thought this through. And so we sort of ended up in that area for 10 years, and it never suited me really. It was inland. I didn't like there was a lot of things I didn't really like about it. But we had a cabin up in the hills, and that gave them a little community of people so they did have a certain amount of freedom too that wasn't in the town, which was kind of my main thing really. I can't live in a town. There's no way. Literally, I couldn't.
Well, why am I not surprised?
I literally would die living in a town. People say, just get a flat in town. And I'm just like, you don't understand. I literally would hate it. So I had a sort of okay, and they were doing school. And then Ayoola came along behind them, and she was just like explosion. You know, she's just such a dynamic person. She's just, I mean, she was our TV the whole way through their childhoods. In the van when she was little, we would literally just watch her. She'd get up on the bunk and she'd get dressed up on all these things, and then she'd do all these little shows for us. She was only like 2 and 3, and we'd all be just like mesmerised, because she's just got an incredibly mesmerising energy, and she's just, you know, she sing the whole of Hamilton, you know, like she's at home in the moment. She's come home for a week, so that's really wonderful. But this morning I woke up and she's singing the whole of Hamilton, you know, with all the dancers crashing about while she's making pancakes, and you're like, what is happening? So I miss her when she's away, because it goes very
And I presume
quick.
like that, from what you're saying to me, it's not as if you had them watching telly every day or anything like that. Totally the opposite. But in Ayoola, where did that spark come from? Where did that idea come from?
Well, me, I think, because I just always was the same. If there was a stage to get up on, I'd get up on it as a kid. I was constantly making things, painting things, building things, creating things.
Did you witness that though?
I didn't. I just got told how annoying I was, because why couldn't you just stop making things? And now you got paint on the carpet, and my God, you know, it was all that kind of a way. You know, my mum was all about, you know, you need to marry a doctor or go and do hotel management, you know, all this stuff. There was never support really to be an artist. That was just, you know, artists were heroin addicts that will end up in squats. That was literally what got told to me every day by my dad and my mum, is what's the point of that? You'll just...
And in a way, I suppose, that's parents trying to be...
sensible.
Yeah, and guide their children. You don't want them...
Yeah, but they didn't understand my nature enough to understand that it was like breath to me.
That was never going to work. That was your oxygen. That was denying your oxygen.
And if they'd supported me in working out how to earn a living out of being an artist, that would have been a lot more helpful to me, you know, than actually just trying to block. So I did go to art college regardless of them. Then I went to acting school, because there is an actor in me that's always tried to come out. That was in West Cork. That was when my kids got bigger and I started to think about myself more, and, you know, what do I actually want to do now? And I went...
Is that in Cork City?
No, it was in Kinsale, with a very dear... Well, she is now a very dear friend to me, Belinda Wilde. She's the most fantastic director. She literally eked the actor out of, you know, because I was like very lacking in self-confidence and self-worth, you know. I think that's always been my big challenge in life, especially due to my childhood and abusive stuff. So I feel like I've got all this going on in here, but I needed someone to help me get over that, and, you know, to get up on the stage and actually perform, you know, was to me the most terrifying thing you could actually do. So I forced myself to go and do it, really, because I thought, I don't want to be, you know, because again, it's about freedom. I want to be free. I don't want this thing stopping me, you know, this whole drummed into me from childhood thing that I'm rubbish. So I went there, best decision I ever made, you know, and then all I learned about teaching kids acting and drama and stagecraft and stage skills and production, I learned from there. I have to give massive kudos to her. She was such an amazing teacher. And I came out of my little shell, and I was in plays, and I was on the, just, you know, so...
Who's this one?
So that was a really exciting bit of time. And then...
So it's nice to discover that. It sounds like Life Part 1 and Part 2 or something. There was a new Sally.
Not a new one. One that was banging to come out from when I was a little kid. I watched Ayoola grow up, and I thought, my God, that's how I felt the whole of my childhood. But I never had any outlet for it. There was never any encouragement. You know, it was always like we had to literally to sit at the dinner table without speaking. We weren't allowed to talk at the table, you know.
So that was the question I was asking at the beginning. What were the conversations around the table?
Yeah, exactly. If they weren't any, because we weren't allowed to talk.
But that's so
I can still hear my father's voice. Shut up, what do you know? You're just a 13-year-old schoolgirl. You know, that started when I was 5. Any opinion that you might have was completely negated. You didn't discuss opinions. I remember having a friend who had this really, their family was amazing, and they all sat discussing things at the table like art, and they all had opinions, and people listened to their opinions, and I was like, I used to sit there like a little mouse thinking, wow. But we didn't have that. So college for me was the first time anybody took me seriously. You know, when I literally would say to a technician or the tutor, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And they'd be like, right, okay, great. Well, we need this and we need this. I was thinking, I can actually do it. You know, I was so amazed that I could actually have permission to do these projects that I had going on there.
And the transition then from you, the actress and involved in plays and everything else, to you being the teacher.
Teacher here. Well, weirdly again, I mean, I've always taught things. I've always taught my kids, and then I taught other people's kids. And then I used to go to these kind of educational camps when festivals got stomped on in the UK. They sort of came out again in a different form. They became like educational, smaller events that were more family orientated, where there were workshops and, you know, yoga in the mornings and all those kind of things. So I would run theatre stuff and theatre camps, all craft. I'd run the craft area for a lot of those. I did for years, you know, so I was teaching kids all kinds of crafts, a bit like this, only, you know, on a week, set it up, do a week, and that would give me my stall pitch. So I was earning my stall fee teaching in you know, so I'd do every morning for 2 hours or whatever it was deal I'd made. And that would give me my stall pitch, you know, because for things like WOMAD, the pitch was like £4,000, you know, it was like unimaginable amounts of money to me. Like, but I could do, you know, I used to build lovely gardens and teach craft. So that evolved into, and then when I did Belinda's training, I had to do work experience. And so that was the first time I don't know if it was the first time, but it was the first time in Ireland that I went into schools and taught drama. And I remember the first day I was shaking like a jellyfish, like thinking, oh my God. And then within about 5 minutes, I was like, I can do this. This is easy, you know, because I'd already been doing it for years. I just didn't acknowledge that I was actually doing it, I suppose. So that was really liberating. And then after that, it all kind of went on from there, really. And then when I came to Schull, I taught in the parish hall but mostly I just do big community projects. I did the big Halloweens, and I did, you know, loads of things I do. Most of it is all voluntary, like, you know, I just do things because I love it. Animations, you know, get 10 kids together, make an animation. I mean, we're winning awards and all kinds of stuff. It's great. And they're seeing the value of what they do in the world. I think that's something I never got when I was a kid. I do the most. I've got one painting left that I did when I was 11, and it's astonishing. I thought, why didn't my parents encourage me? I was obviously talented, like, for goodness sakes. Like, you know, I look at it now and I think, God, I don't know anyone that could paint that at that age. Like, so I feel like they never got behind me ever in that aspect, you know. So I feel like it's only in my later life that I've even put any value on my own work. You know, as I say, I used to make beautiful hand paint things and then sell them for peanuts, you know, so earning a living out of it has always been a struggle, like, you know, but I do things like that and painting that way. I love it and I'm pleased with it and I feel satisfied with it. Whereas I'd do something like that when I was younger and then I'd immediately find all the reasons why it was rubbish, you know.
When was the Loft born?
The Loft was born, I want to say 6 years ago. It might even nearly been 7. It was definitely 6 anyway. And I had been eyeing it up. It came up for rent and I missed it. And then the second time it came up for rent, I went and spoke to people who were renting it and said, please, please, please let me have it. And I was involved with Schull Drama Group at that point. So I'd done a massive big show for them. We did this show called the Be Careful What You Wish For. All the plays and shows I do, I write. So that, you know, I wrote this big script and the drama group were like, yay, let's do that. So I directed it, produced it, did, you know, a lot of it, most of it. And that brought in, I don't know, it was like a lot of money, door money. And, you know, I didn't get a penny of that. Like, and I'd actually made costumes I use on my own money. I mean, I'm mad. I am a bit mad. But there was the drama group and there was that, and that was a great success and I loved doing it. But I wanted to be involved with kids. Kids are my thing, teenagers. And I kept saying to them, why aren't teenagers involved? Like, I went to this audition and I counted 30 teenagers sitting, waiting for the hope of getting to read something. And then just the same few people that are always in all the plays got to read. And then they got the parts. And all these teenagers just kind of all went out all a bit despondent. And, oh, well, that's a shame. So that's what made me do the big epic fairy story. I thought, I'll write something. So I put big signs up, auditions. If you want to be in a big show, come and tell me what you want. And blah, blah, blah. So there was just like queues out the door. So I just got everybody, oh, okay, so your name's so-and-so. What would you really love to do or be if you could? Okay, you want to be a witch? Okay, grand. And I wrote this play to accommodate all these teenagers. So the teenagers got lead parts and, you know, there were adults in it too. And then there was this really funny dynamic, you know, like the prince was this 9-year-old and the dad's an adult. But it worked. It actually really worked. But they don't want to deal with kids. So I thought, okay, I need my own building and I need to get on and do what I want to do.
But my son, he wanted to be a football coach. And like that, we were hanging around with the manager of Cork City Football Club and he used to go there to the matches and, you know, help with some of their practice drills, moving the cones and all that kind of thing. And he loved it. And he went away and he got his FAI badge. And in transition year in school, you know, the way they have some activity to do.
Yeah.
So he came in the door one day and he said, yeah, I'm in 7 Brides for 7 Brothers. Really? You know, my son, the football coach or whatever. Yeah, so you're obviously, I don't know, carrying things or, you know, one of the backstage people. No,
I'm the lead.
I'm one of the brothers. You're like, what the hell? And it was amazing. So suddenly he's doing this thing and he is having so much fun. And his circle of friends, he was being bullied a little bit by a particular gang of people. Suddenly he was in a different circle and of course they were all about movie projects and someone had a camera and the two worlds came together because the manager of Cork City Football Club, he roped him to play a part in one of his little short films, which was amazing.
Yeah.
So suddenly...
That's where you get your cast from.
Yeah, we were at home and the manager drove into the estate really, really quickly. There was a cop car behind him. They rushed into the house, so there was some sort of a car chase. They're like, what the... Can we use your house, Dad, for a few hours? Oh, yeah, sure. And suddenly all this is happening. And
brilliant.
So now it changed his life.
Yeah.
So now he's a filmmaker and all of that. But
and that's exactly what I'm about. There are kids out there that just need that little moment. Give them the
opportunity. Get them
to have
involved.
An opportunity and they fly, you know.
So your whole thing is that make a play that has 40 of them involved. And so you can give them all
mix
apart.
The ages. Up, I never do things for ages. I always have all ages. Like this camp I'm doing, I've got teenagers, I've got 5-year-olds, I've got middle age group, and they all learn from each other. And it's just magic. It's really magic, and that's something they really never get at school. They're so segregated in ages, you know, that they don't think they can even talk to anybody that's not in their age bracket. You know.
So that's during the summer, and I can see how Smart Productions could be very, very busy with all of the kids off during the summer, loads of time on their hands. But during the non-summer period?
In the winter, in flux at the moment because since the pandemic, I was the youth development officer for Skull, which is a scheme because I never earn enough money to live off ever, one way or another. So that was a scheme which enabled me to be really exploring this to see how I could form it into something that would either be eligible for funding or be a not-for-profit that could then continue even if we lose the building, what will happen. So I've spent a lot of that time trying to work that out and experiment with different classes. So I was running weekly classes to see how many kids there are, how many kids want to do this, you know, because I have a lot of history from years of doing Goleen summer camps and I have a lot of trust from parents, really, because I take them out on location and do all kinds of things. So I do weekly drama. I had a youth group for teenagers, which is a really lovely thing because, you know, for instance, this last show I did, one of my teenagers who I've been teaching since I was 7 is now teaching. She did all the choreography. She taught all the choreography. She's fantastic with the littlies. And I'm watching these 14-year-olds become teachers, that's really my fulfillment out of all of it, is seeing them doing it as well, not badly. It's like, wow, that is incredible, Ella, you just did that. You've just created 7 dances, you've taught them all, they've all performed and they were all fantastic. So brilliantly. And I mean, she just, most of the kids that come here love it. They love this space, they love what they do here, and they love the fact they have somewhere to hang out as teenagers and explore music. They'll bring in their guitars and they'll all sit around and write songs, and and then we'll work out how they can put that in the show, and then
Fantastic.
A couple of them want to do a dance, so we'll work that out, and that will be. So I create the show once we've got all the elements of who wants to do what collected up, though.
So there's going to be kids like Ayoola, your daughter, who just have it. They don't need too much encouragement.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's other kids, and you witness them transform.
Very, very shy, crippled with self-doubt.
But yet they turn up.
Anxieties. They do turn up. Sometimes they turn up and then they lurk about in the background for a fair old bit. I've autistic kids who, can't cope with the noise, or they'll... I've learned so much about kids with learning differences because I've had to cater for them all, Like Fergus, he's now a stand-up comedian.
That's amazing.
So when he started in here, he wouldn't speak even, when he had to have the lights all dimmed and he couldn't cope with anybody really touching him, or, it was all kinds of things. But then I put him in a play and I thought, and everybody's like, is he going to learn his lines, and they were like, oh. I said, look, he's part of the team, he'll learn his lines, and if he doesn't learn his lines, we'll change his lines, and it's fine, it's all going to be brilliant. And it was, and he learned all his lines, and it was a fantastic play. And then from there, you could just see him do that. So then one day he came and he said, I've got a few jokes. Do you mind if I tell you all a few jokes? And I was kind of like, yeah, that would be great. So we all listened to his terrible jokes, the first few that he wrote. I'm like, oh my God. And now, a few years down the road, he's doing stand-up comedy in pubs and venues, and it's like amazing. So that's wonderful to see them coming from being really shy little kids to being literally finding employment in the arts in some way.
Is there a moment, Sally, with those kids where you see they've switched, or is it just gradual? It's different with all of them, I'm sure.
There is, for me, I do have what I call magic moments. There was a magic moment the other day when I looked at Ella teaching this stage full of kids and thought, wow,
you have it.
That is awesome, It's not just about being good at something, it's about taking responsibility. They all have to take responsibility here for their mess, for their language, for their conversations, for cleaning up, for what they want to create, for their, how they react with each other. I force them to. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Do it yourself, pick it up. I'm not your mother. So they literally, when they first come here, they'll drop sweet wrappers on the floor, and I'll say, do you do that in your house? Just stick your bin over there. But mostly I'm on them to take responsibility for themselves and their personal, like Ella. You can teach, Ella. You can teach. Just get on with it. Stop all the, but I will not be good enough, and won't I be good enough, and can't I? Give it a lash. There you go. There's a group of kids. So they get to try things they'd never get to try in school, really.
And for kids that they're not going to pursue this as a profession or anything like that, what are those important life skills do they end up getting? They end up realising that they can relate to all age groups, that they can talk to the teenagers, or that they are teenagers they can actually talk to, and that younger kids that have amazing ideas and incredible brains, and the littlies, get less shy. They get a bit more, they start to feel like they can be themselves in this space. So confidence.
Confidence is all about confidence.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I never got any help with. It's taken me so much in my life to get enough confidence to say, that is my painting, or this is what I'm doing, and I don't need a proper job because I already have one, or I love what I do and that's what I'm doing, or, I feel like if you can give that to a child. And, and Ayoola is a great example of that, because there was a time when I did have to push her. Yeah, she was, I don't want to go this week. Oh, I'm saying, well, you're going. You're in a dance group. You'll have a responsibility to the other people. You know, you don't be in a football team and then decide you're not going to turn up one day.
Yeah, I don't feel like it today.
Yeah, I'm not. If it's raining, I don't think I'll bother.
One man down.
Yeah, and
one woman down.
I think teamwork is what they learn here, a big start, because when we're doing a show, everybody has to be responsible for learning their lines. And with the summer camp, they have 5 days. I'm writing the script this week. They'll get it on Friday, and next Friday we perform it. And it's not shoddy. It's, you know, I'm really on them for, it's got to be good. So they are held responsible in the position in the team to hold their spot, you know, and so that pushes them a lot more than anything. You know, it's no good me nagging them and being a teacher at them, because that doesn't work either. You know, I leave them to feel how it feels when they're stood there and they don't actually remember what they're supposed to say because they didn't bother learning it.
Yeah. So talk to me about Ayoola. It sounds like the world is her oyster.
The world is her oyster. I mean, she's incredible. She's taught me so much, like just about so many things. She's so good at her job. She's so dedicated, committed. I mean, you know, and even she does have huge times when she's like, oh, is this for me? What am I doing? You know, but I think she is somebody who I see has done her personal development work, and that's what makes me super proud of her. Every step of the way she's taken responsibility. You know, like when other kids were drinking vodka on the pier, she might have been drinking vodka too, but she was always the one that picked the bottles up or minded the other ones that were too out of it, or made sure I came and fetched them all home and got them safe. You know, she's always worked on herself. Even now, she's huge, always working on herself and how can I improve that, or how can I be better in this situation? And I find that really inspiring.
But acting is now a full-time profession for her.
Acting is her full-time profession, yeah. But she wants to do producing a role. We've written a TV series together. Well, I've written it, and she's been helping me to so we're co-creating basically this TV series. Because she's like a fantastic editor and she's very astute. She reads so many scripts all the time that she's very, you know, she knows what works for the TV. Like, whereas I've written a lot of scripts for plays and screen scripts, but I've not ever done a series before. So it's a learning curve to me. In
a way, is she living part of the life that you didn't in a funny sort of way?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I feel fulfilled in the things that I never did because she's doing them in a way. But that's, I think you always have that with your kids a bit, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, my career was over in a way when I ran off with the Aborigines and lived in the bush and gave up, you know, because I had a place to do an MA in the Royal College and I walked away from it really. You know, I just in my mind, I'll just do that later like you do. But then, of course, after all that totally different experience, you end up, and then you've got little kids and so you can't. So I feel like, there was definitely a bit of me that would have loved to have been in the film world in a much bigger role at this point with technicians and people producing things for me, you know.
So what do we say? Never say never?
Never say never, yes. So Ayoola says, because I say, too old now. She says, Mum, like, don't be so ridiculous. I mean, if this TV series goes anywhere, then we will be creative producers on that.
Brilliant.
So that will be really cool. She's incredible. Her career has been incredible, really. She hadn't even finished her degree when she got, asked to audition for the Globe. And she rang me up. She said, I've been asked to audition for the Globe. And I'm like, really? The Globe in London? Are you serious? And she says, yeah. I thought, okay, yeah, whatever. And then, I've got a call back for the Globe. I'm like, really? That's amazing. Oh, Mum, I'm going to be on at the Globe. I was like, what? So she didn't even get a graduation ceremony because she was... And I'm like, well, I can't come to your graduation. She said, well, would you rather I was working or would you rather come to my graduation? And that's been it. She did that. She did Taming of the Shrew and the lead in it broke her foot the first week. So Ayoola had to go on as the understudy and she just took the place by storm. She didn't have a script. She'd already had all her lines. She was already understudy for 5 other characters. It's incredible. You know, they expected her, she'd have to go on with a script, because it was a last minute.
She was ready.
She flew it. And so that gave her she got a lot of publicity from that. And then she just went on from there, really. she's worked with so many amazing people. You know, Brenda Blath and even all loads of them.
And is she still grounded?
She's so amazing. She hates all the hypey stuff. She doesn't want any of that. She's really blessed and so grateful to have had these opportunities to work with these masters of their, because a lot of them are, brilliant at what they do.
Yeah, and in a way, she's able to bring some of that word back to the Loft.
And she brings it into her acting and her life, and so. And also, she just loves the whole process. I mean, at the moment she's in the Wheel of Time, and she's, you're a whole family. It's like these people become your life and your family, and then when it's over, she's a bit, oh, it's over, and then the next thing comes along, But it is feast and famine. It's not like people think, oh, now you're a millionaire because you're an actor. That she has struggled financially all the way, just because living in London, and all of a sudden you haven't got a job because it's over, and then you've nothing. So she's done really well, and I hope
well done, Mum.
Yeah, well done, Mum.
Seriously, take a bow, Jakers.
I know. I suppose it's a fair old bit to do with me. Sure. I did really support her more. The other two, I didn't feel like they got the same level of support. Really, I think I was half in the other world still a bit.
Well, you were still sorting your own world out, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, I think she got.
We're all doing that. We're still doing that, aren't we?
Still doing that. Yeah. When does that bit stop?
I
keep thinking when I know what I want to do with my life, I'll get on with it, And then I'm thinking, oh my God, this is my life. I need to get on with it now. Yeah, so I'm excited for film. I'm wanting to do more film. I've made several films, and I've never even occurred to me to put them into film festivals. That's how stupid I am. And I only really started putting the animations in because I suddenly thought these kids need to see their films go somewhere. They need to see what they make is stands up against others. And much to my amazement, we won all these awards. So I was really. Yeah,
and that's the
chuffed by
commercial side of it, isn't it? That's the bridge.
The bridge,
to getting people to notice what you're doing and everything else.
And I think I need to get better at that for myself. I need to get better at that for the children involved.
Yeah, and just learning that.
So I'm sort of getting there, you know.
So tell me, what's happiness to you?
What's happiness to me?
That's an easy one for you now.
Swimming in the sea, being in wilderness. My kids are great. I'm blessed every day that I have them. They're super. They're all such lovely people. My little granddaughter that I've now got,
what's her name?
Charlie. Cheeky Charlie. And she is like, oh my God, she's like a chip off me. I look at her and think, oh my God, that's exactly what I was like. And her mum is like, oh my God, she never stops from 1 minute to the next. She's apparently what I was like. So she comes in here and she's just like, she wants to paint and draw and climb and build and so that's exciting and lovely. I feel like we're going to be real mates. And
that's amazing.
Kayaking, being on the sea, that's happiness. I think very simple things. I don't want anything. I don't want stuff. I feel like I would be very happy if I had a home. That would be wonderful. Not because I want to own something, but because I want somewhere that my kids can all come and, that we can have those family gatherings. I mean, at the moment I live in a thing the size of a cupboard, so it's like when anyone comes, it's just immediately chaos. So I feel like, but there's a bit of me that could just literally go and live in the bush again as well, right?
I think there might be.
Yeah, so I think happiness for me is freedom. Yeah. Freedom to continue doing my life as I have a lot of ethics and morals. I feel very strongly about things, but I don't necessarily say about, I used to, which used to drive people mad, so I don't just shut up about all them. But I put it into what I do, I think, and so that makes me happy when I see the result of that.
And then I ask people about winning. Do you have objectives? Is there stuff you want to do?
Yes, I want to publish my book.
Which is going to be a film, by the way.
Which is going to be a film. It's actually, somebody said, I took it years ago, I read a bit of it out at the literary festival. This American guy who was a screenwriter, I should have got his name. So, oh my God, that's a film, you should be making that into a film. Oh my gosh, it would actually make a really good film, My Childhood. Anyway, I've written this book. I really would like to publish that, but I never have time to sit down and send it all out to agents and that business. I mean, I just have a big bit of a mental block about the next stage of things, you know. So I'd love to do that. I'd absolutely love to get this TV series produced. That would be so exciting. So yeah, I'd love to get involved in a creative project that I wasn't necessarily totally responsible for, but that I definitely had a big creative part to play in it, you know.
I have one last question for you, and it sounds like your mum played a huge part in your life, and I know there was parts of that were a bit chaotic and all that kind of thing. If I asked you to tell me a special moment between the two of you, what would you think of?
I would think of when she came. So I had a baby, my first baby in Australia with Gus, and she came to visit. And she thought we lived in a house and, you know, she was going to come and visit us. And we kind of stuffed her in the back of the Holden station wagon along with the 2 dogs and the baby and took her around the whole of Australia. And, it was not for the faint-hearted. She literally saw probably more of Australia than most Australians have ever seen. And to be fair, she was fair game. She was brilliant.
She went along with it?
She just sucked it up, and she arrived, she had wet wipes and toilet roll and torches and all these things, and Gus was like, what do you need that for? You can't bring a torch. And she was like, why? We'll need a torch. She said, well, then what happens when the batteries run out? She said, well, I'll get some new ones. And then he's like, yeah, and then what happens to those batteries? And she's like, oh my God, it was like, we were so die in the wold, it's got to be this way,
Oh, your poor mum.
So, but she did go for it. And one of my funniest moments, so we went into these caves where literally 30 years on, you wouldn't even be allowed to go in. But at the time, Gus didn't happen to know where they were. Marble, like pink marble caves, absolutely incredible, with this underwater lake that was like that blue, turquoise blue. But you had to climb along this little tiny ledge, and we didn't have torches because we didn't believe in batteries. So we had this little hurricane lamp, and I had the baby strapped on me, luckily, because then all of a sudden there was this shout and a splash, and Gus had fallen down this hole. Like the light went out, and I'm like, oh my God, Gus. So he climbs out of there, we rescue him, and then we decide we go carry on. We see this beautiful lake and everything, and then we come back again. And just as I say, Mum, be careful of that hole, there's a big shriek, and my mum falls down the same bloody hole. Like, we're like, oh, for God's sakes, Mum, So we were so impatient with her. It's like, when I look back, I think, oh my God, how did she survive us? But anyway, she fell down that hole. We fished her out of there, and then we stuck her on the roof of the car because we were going to Uluru up the Gun Barrel Highway. It was like a dirt road, seriously corrugated red dust road in the complete, right across the middle of the deserts, to Ayers Rock, to Uluru. So we stuck her on the top of the station wagon on the tyres to dry off. And then we pulled over. She's like shouting, so we pulled over, and she got off the car and she looked like a termite's nest because all the dust had stuck to her. And I just remember rubbing these 2 little holes in her glasses so she could see out. And then we all just died laughing at her. And she was just, it must have been this thick on her. It just stuck to it and stuck and stuck and stuck. That was a magic time.
Yeah.
Because I suppose that was the only time she ever really joined my world or saw any of the things that I cared about. But she was the one who instilled a love of nature into us.
Yeah, and the love of
and a love of beauty and literature. And so, I feel like that was...
Did you say anything to you about that time? When she kissed you at the airport or wherever you dropped her off?
She probably got home and going, thank God I'm home.
Yeah.
But she was pretty game. I made her this big scroll. It was like, congratulations to Mary Smart, who's crossed the Tanimar Desert and the Great Sandy Desert and the Gibson Desert and the Nullarbor Desert and has been fallen down holes in Marble Bar Caves. And, I listed all the mad things that we put her through, I suppose, would be the way. Yeah. But she was pretty game, really. I mean, we made her climb Ayers Rock. My daughter was named on the top of Uluru by an Aborigine elder, and she was terrified of the thought of climbing up there, and actually so was I, but I was too gung-ho to admit it. I mean, it's terrifying. It's like for the first little bit of it, you get a chain, and then the chain just goes, and then you're like on this massive great moonscape with all these craters and ridges, and you don't know which way to go. You could fall at any minute at hundreds of feet, and people have, lots of them. But anyway, and she sat down on the rock, and she had espadrilles on, and Gus was like, Mary, what are you wearing espadrilles? You can't climb up a bloody rock in espadrilles. You need bare feet. Your feet have got a grip. So he just whipped them off her and held them off the rock and she was just like, that's my shoes. And then she's like, I'm just going to sit here and they'll have to get a helicopter to get me. And he's like, bullshit, get up there, Mary. Because he's like real Aussie. So she was like, all right then. So we did actually name our daughter on the top of Uluru. And she has a little piece of rock to put back there. But you can't climb it anymore, which is good, so she'll just have to put it back at the base.
the love that your mum had for you to do that.
To go through that.
In all fairness.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
You were some woman, Mary.
She was. She was superwoman. She had a full-time job. When we bought Morva, which was the Cornish farm, she just taught us how to do all of it, really.
Yeah. And Sally, you were some woman.
Yeah, I think I'm glad of who I am. I'm very grateful for all those gifts I got to have, even though some of it seemed very harsh at the time.
Tell me, if anyone wants to get in touch about the Loft and the work that you're doing, maybe if they want to run classes or something, or want to get involved, or financially, or...
They could just give me a ring.
Just give you a ring?
Yeah.
Just give you a ring?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's a Facebook page, isn't there? There's a Facebook page for Smarter Productions, which is just to service telling people what's happening here, when and your phone number is on that Facebook page.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was in the process of getting a website together, which is in, I think it's almost ready, except for the fact that now the building is now under threat. So, although I'm not even going to say that, because I'm just going to believe I'm going to be here until I don't want to be here anymore. Because it might take years to sell it, and who knows? I mean, it might sell next week, or it might not.
I think in a way, the Loft is an idea as much as the building.
Well, the Loft is me, really. It could actually happen anywhere, but I would be pushing myself to find another space as adaptable as this.
Of course you will. You always have, and you always will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sally, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. It's been
really
interesting.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Reliving my life, yeah.
I know.
I'm sure I've missed out loads of interesting things I've done, but anyway.
We can do an episode too. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Win Happy podcast, which has been brought to you by Fusion Communications. If you'd like to get in touch, feel free to send me an email at greg@fusion.ie. So until next time, take it easy.